are you doing today, Liza?
Very well. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. This has been really good. And yeah, I was excited. By the way, there was a question somebody asked about using capitalist decline to take ownership of mass media. I'd say, Bhaskar just referred to the Jacobin YouTube channel. It's a mundane answer, but
Start. Start.
it's a. I think building that up, right? These efforts at more, left media in more places, is a pretty good start. And I recently read something you wrote for Jacobin about these recent socialist victories in New York state assembly elections, or I guess primaries, but primaries in places where the primary is the election.
Yeah, in our case, they basically won.
Right. And I mean, one thing is, like, it's just nice to read. I mean, first of all, right, it's just nice right now to read about any kind of victory, because the last year, has been pretty grim in a lot of ways. After the defeat of the Labour Party last year in the UK, it's a point where Jeremy Corbyn's Lieutenant John McDonnell said, look on the bright side. Usually when socialist revolutions are defeated, everybody's taken to a soccer stadium and shot. And that feeling that if there's a bright side, it's something like that, right?
Exactly. At least we're not in the soccer stadium getting
Exactly. And I've definitely been feeling that a lot in the months between the Nevada caucus and now. But reading your article made me feel good. So and it was also just like a really nice just a nice piece of writing, like taking like this like nice little history lesson and doing all those things that the writing instructors say about showing not telling, to kind of like say something about how we might learn from that, right, while just being understated and nicely done. But I guess, like, just first of all, so who are these people who just won these state assembly primary elections?
Yeah. So, well, I'll say as well as being a Jacobin columnist, I'm also a DSA member. So I'm just unabashedly, biased towards the greatness of these people. So I just, not to make people feel that we are sneaking anything on them. They're a really great group of people. We reelected Julia Salazar. She was already in the state Senate. She was our first DSA person to get in there, and she really, in a very short time, did great work. Although we have a really vigorous tenants' rights movement here, I really do not think we would have gotten the phenomenal package of reforms expanding tenants' rights, which hadn't been done in decades. I mean, really. That movement is just always on the defensive, just always like keeping something bad from happening, right, rather than actually able to push forward. And really with Julia and as well as some progressives in the state Senate, they were and the movement was really invigorated, and it was a dual process, the streets and the legislators. So Julia had a lot of successes to point to, and is extremely popular in her district, and was reelected easily.
Which I should say is fantastic, because if anybody remembers when she was first elected, that did not seem like a sure thing, to put it like.
Yeah, well, that was a fascinating situation, because sometimes we media people think that what's happening in the media is so important, so there were all these scandalous stories about her in the media, and of course then those are broadly shared on social media, which just kind of becomes just another,
so it seems like, oh, she's really in trouble,
of the media, right? And so then everybody who's extremely online is like, oh no, this is terrible, and like And my friends are all, my media friends are all like texting me being like, what's going on, should we still support her, and like what's our, and I'm just like, no, we're still supporting her. We don't care about any of this. We're maintaining party discipline here. And when you would go out and knock on doors, because I volunteered on that campaign, and when you would go out and knock on doors, like not a single person would say, I read this scandalous thing.
Right.
Like you would go and you would say, this person is running to represent you, and she's really concerned about affordable housing and stuff like this, and then you would go around Bushwick into the various housing projects and talk about that, and people were like, that sounds great.
Yeah. And, so they actually cared more about housing than about like all of these details and scandals and pseudo scandals about her personal life and her background. All that seemed like a little bit less important than having affordable housing.
Her Jewish identity and like long stories that were like planted in the or she did something strange when she was in college, or astonishingly, not a single working class person in her district
actually
was
cared about any of
this.
It's like, okay, that's nice about housing, but like I want to hear about like her Jewish bona fides, right? Like a little mother, father, what do you know? Like,
right, exactly. Or like was she born in Colombia? Was she born here? Like, no, not these were not pressing issues to people who weren't on the Twitter all day. So that was so it was sort of a fascinating case study, and the fact is, the most authentic thing about Julia is her socialist politics. So we really got lucky with that.
Yeah, which is the part that actually matters, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she was reelected easily, and actually, to me, we pay a lot more attention. Again, being part of the media, we and Jacobin are part of this too. We pay a lot more attention to the newer people, and we should, because they're wonderful. But I personally, it actually was even more exciting to me that Julia and as well as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez were reelected, because to me that shows that socialists can build power and serve the people when we get into office, as well as just successfully campaign, which is only one thing. That we can actually stay there and be really successful. It seems even better than that we can get elected. So also Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez mirrored that absolutely overwhelming victory and popularity in her own district, but that's a separate story because we're talking about
and where I'm from in mid-Michigan, Rashida Tlaib absolutely dominated that primary, which was a very similar thing, because there were like very online people who were convinced that like people would care that she'd like booed Hillary Clinton last year. And it's like now weirdly enough, nobody in like John Conyers' old district of Detroit actually gave a shit about that like at all.
Exactly.
Anybody who noticed probably liked her more because of it.